What's up, y'all? Naturegirl 30 here, and as you can hear, I am absolutely exhausted, to be completely honest with you. SummerSlam is officially over. It's in the books. It's done. 5 hours gone. And there were some hidden gems. Actually, not really so much hidden, but there were some really, really good matches. I will say that it was very disappointing to see what happened with Sasha. Sasha only had the belt for 3.5 weeks, and she ended up losing it to Charlotte tonight, which is something that's unsettling for me. But they say that she had to leave because of nagging injuries, and she couldn't hold on to her title that long. And it's kind of messed up that it was for a short period of time, but she had to drop it to Charlotte, and now Charlotte's going to take over, which is kind of somewhat disappointing. But honestly, if it's the fact that she had nagging injuries, I wouldn't have given her the title. It just doesn't really add up in so many ways. There was a huge rumor all over Twitter that she violated the wellness policy and she had to be out for 30 days. But I think it's just because of the string of wellness policy violations, people automatically assume that she was actually violated her wellness policy as well. I did the exact same thing, but hearing that it's because of nagging injuries. Now, with all that out the way, you have the 6-woman tag match that still continued, and there was another rumor that Nikki Bella was going to be making a return. At first, I had a conspiracy theory that they actually wanted to try to get Eva Marie put away because Eva Marie was defending herself on Instagram as well as on Twitter, saying she didn't turn her paperwork in on time, but she decided to just uphold the fact that she is being, that she has to be out for at least a month. I still think it's a conspiracy. I do believe that they wanted to have a place for Nikki and have a whole setup for Nikki to be champion of SmackDown. And honestly, it's just jacked up. She should have gotten a fine. I really believe that she wanted to be there and she wanted to perform, but I don't know. Maybe they changed their mind about her knowing that Nikki actually healed up. But that's just my overall theory, and I'm not going to go too much into that. There were a few hidden gems when it came to the actual kickoff match. Sheamus versus Cesaro, of course, never disappoints, and I'm happy that that Sheamus actually wins, which means he's probably not going to win the overall best of 7, which was pretty decent to see. The other matches themselves, in my opinion, were somewhat throwaways. The 12-man tag was just a complete chaotic mess. It just was. But, of course, any match that has... Excuse me, I'm exhausted. But any match that has American Alpha in it, of course, is going to be the actual group that's going to win it out in the very end. But I kind of do feel bad for the Dudley Boys because they're just there to job out. And they're not really getting any respect. And they lost... They lost the match for Sami Zayn versus Sami Zayn and Neville versus the Dudley Boys. Yeah, you had those two, and of course the faces actually do win in the end, but unfortunately the Dudley Boys just couldn't make it. I guess there was a Baron Corbin versus Kalisto match, but somehow that Kalisto couldn't show up because of an injury, so Baron Corbin really didn't have anything to do. But other than that, guys, there were a lot of great matches towards the beginning. And then towards the end is when it started to really slow down to a crawl. The women's match really did shock me because it was actually started off early. It was the second match of the night, something I really didn't expect to see. We end up seeing Kevin Owens versus, Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho versus... whoever they were fighting against. I can't remember. My brain's kind of melting together. But yeah, whoever fought them, of course the faces did win. I can't remember who their opponents were. By all means, leave it in the comments. That match was forgettable for me. Because Enzo and Cass, that's it. I don't really care much at all for Chris Jericho. I don't. In any way, shape, or form. The reason why is this. There's no rhyme or reason why Chris Jericho is still there. He's always there, just like I said. For those that have seen Mr. Griffin's podcast, I talked about it briefly on there. Probably bad audio, but other than that, I'll just say this: Chris Jericho's had his run. His overall purpose is to be a mentor to the younger generation and to put them over. That's his job. That's always will be his job. But I think he's tired of that happening because of his dumb ego, and he decides to actually take one match and then be like maybe 50-50 booking throughout. Enzo and Cass needed this win more than he does, and Kevin Owens needs to be single and actually go on a singles push without Jericho there. Jericho is just holding everybody back, and it's time for him to go and find Fozzy and be in another tour with them for maybe 6 months and just disappear. Seriously, I'm really getting tired of Jericho. And honestly, his banter is starting to get stale and old. He's done it for years. It's time to move on. That's just me. Or maybe I'm just fussy because I'm tired. But other than that, we did have the women's title tonight. There was botch after botch after botch after botch. And usually I let botches go, but these botches were dangerous. It was to the point where you can tell that Sasha got injured very badly when Charlotte botched a move, like right on top of the, like when she, I don't know what she was about to do, but she botched a move really bad when she actually did have Sasha Banks up on the top rope. I don't know what happened there. And it was just bad move after bad move. And that happened with a lot of matches tonight. I don't know what's going on. But other than that, we end up having Sasha Banks lose her title to Charlotte after Sasha Banks actually did have the belt for more than 3.5 months. It didn't really sit well with me. I didn't really know why. And I ended up finding out that Sasha Banks was legit hurt and she had to literally take some time off. But if that was the case, they shouldn't have given her the belt in the first place. That's just me. But there were a few matches that I have to say gets mad props from me. And one of them definitely is John Cena versus AJ Styles. That was a match that was worth giving a standing ovation for. Because John Cena gave it his all in that match. And he took off the band, Hustle, Loyalty, and Respect. And he just walked out. But we all know that John Cena is going to be gone for 2 months. And I'm kind of happy that AJ Styles did go over here. I'm happy to actually see that. That match was amazing. It was a really good match. And I was absolutely floored by how well John Cena actually can do moves with his size. That dude executed a well done, well executed, well polished Canadian Destroyer to AJ Styles. I never thought he would do that. Ever. And he did a really great job with it. And AJ made him look good as well as making John Cena look good. It was a really good match. And I applaud both of them. Amazing, amazing match. And as for the IC belt, for the IC title, I didn't care much for it. I still didn't. And with the tag team belts, you had Jon Stewart involved. I like Jon Stewart, but I want Jon Stewart to be a fan behind the barricade. I am tired of him backstage. They made him a host for no apparent reason. They talked about possibly having Flo Rida do a concert, but I think that's why they had the concert series during the week of SummerSlam, for SummerSlam week, instead of doing it during the event. I'm just trying to say it. I'm just exhausted. But yeah, I'm kind of happy that Flo Rida did not perform. But it was really up in the air that night whether or not the women was going to have their match. And honestly, I guess it's okay that they did, because Nikki Bella had the largest pop I've ever heard her have in many years. And it was a win for her. But now we end up finding out that she's going to SmackDown. So Eve Marie is going to be put behind, and she actually has a lot to prove when she comes back. That's just how it is in that aspect. But moving on down from there, the U.S. title was a joke. It was. It was it was the next to the last match before the main event, and nothing really happened. It didn't. Somehow, I guess Rusev busted a rib or broke something, and you had Roman Reigns acting aggressive and then stopped. That match was just bad. It was a complete throwaway. And that's a shame, because that's a U.S. title match. But the one thing that was sadder than most is that Dean Ambrose has not been knocking the ball out the park when it comes to some of these matches he's been in. The match he's in with Ziggler should have been amazing. But for some reason, it was just slow. Slow as molasses. The crowd was completely dead. Like, I can't stand Brooklyn crowd. Brooklyn crowd is making the Philly crowd look like freaking aristocrats. Seriously, they make them look completely classy and with a well-mannered crowd. That is what that is what Brooklyn is literally making Philly look. Because Philly by far has far more manners, far better manners than the Brooklyn crowd could ever have. And I'm very disappointed in that crowd. Seriously. They didn't even cheer for their own hometown chick. They barely cheered for Enzo and Cass. And Enzo and Cass is from Staten Island. So why didn't they care? But I guess, oh yeah, they don't want to care. I guess maybe they don't want to cheer for them because they're from Jersey. I don't know. But other than that, it's ridiculous. They're literally from where you are. Give them some hometown love. That is all you gotta do. Seriously. Didn't even do that for the frickin' Dudley Boys. And they are from New York. Well, at least Bubba Ray is. But other than that, come on. Really? But I don't know. The crowd just pissed me off to no end. And I know that they got real hyped up when it came to the women's match. And they got real hyped up when it came to the match between Cena and AJ Styles. But they just died after that. Like, good grief. It was a struggle to get them to chant anything or make some kind of response. It was bad. But other than that, there were a lot of matches that after John Cena's match, after the middle match, it just started dying off from there. Like, it just, nobody really cared. The 6 women match should have been canceled. But then you had Nikki Bella returning and they had to make it a big deal. But the championship matches in themselves. Now, I talked to Irvin about this a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, but a few weeks back. That this was going to be a lose-lose for the WWE. And here's why. They have a brand new belt that they have to promote. But they got a high-profile match that will keep butts in seats. So what do they have to do? Either promote their big match or promote their big belt that's going to be coming out on Raw. And they chose the latter. They chose to literally dump all the championship belts out first. And then put Brock versus Orton in the main event. In a way, I kind of understand that because they got to keep those butts in seats. As well as they got to keep people watching the network. I get it. Because if you had the championship matches to be last, it would have been a bad call because you would have lost a lot of people. I get it. Now, I'm going to go into that belt. I am going to literally rant the crap out of that belt. That is the ugliest belt I have ever seen in my life. The laziest, ugliest piece of thing I have ever seen. It looks like, it seriously looks like the women's title wrapped in red licorice. That's what it looks like. The women's title wrapped in red freaking licorice. It's disgusting. It's just horrible. It's lazy work. It really is. They had a long time to get that design done. And they should have gotten it done before SummerSlam. But that was the last minute thing. I guess they wanted to try to make a belt to where they can merge and make it look decent. No, just have your own original belt. It's ugly. It's the ugliest thing I have ever seen. And it's to the point where it's the man's version of the Divas title. I'm just going to say it right there. It's the male version of the Divas title. It's that ugly. I'm just going to say it right then and there. It's a horrible looking belt. But other than that, we have Finn Balor as our new Universal Champ. Peachy. And we have Dean Ambrose as still our WWE Champion. Or the WWE World Champ. I don't know. I get confused now. But other than that, I'm kind of happy that Ziggler didn't win because they wouldn't know what to do with him if he did take the title. And it did really make me sad because this is the 3rd match in a row that Dean Ambrose could not get a response out of anyone. Nobody cared. And honestly, I guess because after the match with Cena, maybe people were tapped out after that. Because Cena actually did get a lot of props after that. People were literally giving him respect. Reluctantly, but they gave him respect after that. But I think after those matches that literally was making your heart go crazy, you literally had to take a breather. So maybe that's just what happened there. That match was probably the equivalent of the streak. And people just literally were just exhausted, and that's probably why nobody really cared for Dean Ambrose. But this is the third match in a row that Dean Ambrose didn't get the response he wanted. You can tell Dean Ambrose was just disappointed. He really, really was. And the same thing with the Universal title. Everybody was so horrified by that disgusting title that nobody really cared about the match itself. You had Finn Balor making his Demon King entrance, of course, and then you had Seth Rollins making his entrance. But the belt itself literally took away the match. And I don't think they were expecting that. I don't know who came up with that ugly red design. But it was just to the point where, yeah, it literally sucked and drained the life out of that match without even trying. But let's move on from the championship matches that really never mattered to the match that everybody's going to probably be talking about. And I'm talking about Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. Wow. That match was not that good. It was bad. It was pretty much the equivalent, close to the equivalent of Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. Except the only difference is they did something for the first 10 minutes and they just didn't sit there. But I never in my entire life thought that match, that main event, was going to end by a TKO. Ever. I never thought it would end by a TKO. I don't know what happened with Randy, but Randy was bleeding buckets. Seriously, it was just coming out like in a long drip. He must have cut a vein or something, or punctured a vein, because his head was just profusely bleeding. It was a puddle of blood on the floor. Seriously, it was completely brutal. I never expected Brock to open him up with his own fist. It was insane. Then you had Shane McMahon come out trying to stop him, and then he got F5. Randy got the worst cut of his life. And he hit something. It wasn't a major artery, but it had to be a vein, and it was just emptying out on the ground. I never thought I would see that much blood in this era. But other than that, it ended in a technical knockout, and that's how they ended the show. No Goldberg, no Taker. Just a rumor, nothing happened. That's how it ended. Honestly, guys, it started off with a bang and then ended with a whimper. That's pretty much all I can sum up when it comes to the SummerSlam. It was extraordinarily overhyped. Very overhyped. More hyped than a WrestleMania pay-per-view. 5 hours of this. And it started off with a bang and you got me interested, but then ended with a whimper with a TKO, and having, as much as Randy Orton boasted he was going to take Brock Lesnar to Viperville, it looked like he got taken to Suplex City and got buried there. But other than that, guys, I want to hear your thoughts about SummerSlam. Leave a comment in the comment section below, because I am too exhausted to care about any of this. But other than that, guys, I will see you on Raw tomorrow. Well, I will see you for a Raw review tomorrow. Peace out. I'm going to bed.